Alright, this section deals with adding and subtracting polynomials, but there's some vocabulary to get out of the way. And this section is pretty straightforward. It's putting things in what we call standard form. But first of all, let's define what a monomial is. You know what a monomial is. It's basically a term, but from a definition standpoint, a monomial is an expression that is a number. So a standalone number like 12, a variable, so any type of letter, or a product, or a quotient. So basically any ones that are bunched up together or as a fraction of a number of one or more variables. So what we refer to as terms are basically monomials. So a polynomial is basically a monomial or a term, or the sum or difference of two or more monomials. So basically, if any of these are added or subtracted next to each other, you have what's known as a polynomial. And when there's two, there's binomial. If there's three, there's tri. But really, you can use the umbrella term polynomial to describe any of them. So this section is pretty straightforward. It's about putting them in what's called standard form. And standard form is pretty straightforward. And you basically go alphabetical from the highest degree. We talked a little bit about what a degree of a polynomial, and it's just the highest degree of the monomial. So there's a 2 here, that would be a second degree. The highest degree in this would be the x to the 4th. So that would be 4th degree. That's not really important that we know that at this point, but really putting it in standard form, because when you check your answers, they're always going to be listed in standard form. So understanding that is kind of important. So to put them in standard form, we always put them alphabetical, and then from the highest exponent to the lowest exponent. So we want to see each of our polynomials as individual monomials. And remember, the sign to the left of it goes with it. So we have basically a positive 2x, a negative 3x to the 3rd, a positive 5x to the 5th, and a negative 2. So if I'm looking at the highest exponent, it would be the 5x to the 5th. Then I'd have the negative 3x to the 3rd, then the 2x to the 1st, and I'm going to put a positive 2x because I'm indicating the value since it's now in the middle of that expression. And at the end, we have the negative 2. So here are a couple examples from the book. We have 3 monomials, or 3 terms within this: a positive 6x to the squared, a 7x, a negative 9x to the 4th. Over here again we have 3 as well. We have a 3y, a negative 4, and a negative 3y squared. Go ahead and pause the video here and try these individually, and then unpause it, and you'll see how we get to the answers. So if we look at these 3, we see that the 4 is the highest exponent. So that's what we're going to write first. The negative 9x to the 4th will be our first term written. Our next exponent is the x squared, so I'm going to put a positive 6x squared. So I'm indicating that value. And then we have a positive 7 at the end. So that's that in standard form. Like I said, pretty straightforward. So in this one, we can also identify 3 terms: 3y, a negative 4, and a negative 3y. The negative 3y, the negative y to the 3rd goes first. Then the positive 3y goes second. And remember, I'm putting that positive there because now I'm writing it as an expression. And the negative 4 on the back, or at the end. All right. So on the back of your notes or a subsheet of paper, we're going to try this one. So pause this here, write this down, and see if you can identify them, all the terms from least to greatest. So as we start this problem, we're going to look. We can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different monomials or different terms within this. So remember, it's not about the coefficient out front, it's about the highest degree. So the highest degree is this negative 10x x to the 10th, so I'm going to write that first. The next highest degree I see is a 5, so I'm going to write negative 3x to the 5th. And even if you want, as you're doing these, if you want to cross them out as you go, so you see what's left. My next highest degree would be this x to the 3rd, so a positive x to the 3rd. Get rid of that now. So I'm down to 3 now. I got the x to the 2nd. I'm going to indicate that as a positive 5x because that is a positive. There's no negative. 2 left, a positive 6x, which then leaves us with the negative 5. So when we're putting all of our answers, when we get into multiplying and adding and subtracting polynomials, you're going to want to list them in standard form, which again is the highest exponent all the way down to the lowest exponent, or our constant, which will be at the end.